Well, the Senate has justified the purchase of 360 sports utility vehicles for its members. The Red Chamber was, however, silent on the actual cost of each vehicle, but explained that members preferred the imported SUVs to locally manufactured ones. Now, earlier, you'll recall that the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, asked a federal high court in Lagos to stop the lawmakers from taking delivery of the SUVs, pending the hearing and determination of the application for injunction filed by the organization. The group's applications for interim and interlocutory injunction followed reports that members of the House of Representatives are set to procure and take delivery of SUVs valued at 57.6 billion naira. Well, according to reports, each of the SUVs would cost about 160 million naira. Now, reacting to the development at a news conference yesterday, Tuesday, the chairman of the Committee on Senate Services, Sunday Karimi, noted that Nigerians were picking on lawmakers but ignoring ministers who got about 4 official vehicles. Karimi said, somebody that is a minister has more than 3 Land Cruisers, Prado, and other vehicles, and you are not asking them questions. Why us? He said. These vehicles that you see go to Nigerian roads today. All right, he says, go to Nigerian roads today. If I go home once, I'm going to repeat that. If I go home once, my senatorial district, I come back spending a lot on my vehicles because our roads are bad. Emphasis, our roads are bad. Oh well, so joining us to make sense of this justification of why they need so much money, 160 million for each vehicle, going into billions of naira. We have Dr. Olawale Olatubi, who was with us earlier during the newspaper review. He's still with us. And we are also joined virtually by Chukwuma Okoro, both public affairs commentators. All right, let me come to you now, Chukwuma. Good morning. A beautiful day it is. Welcome to welcome to VOP this morning. Now, how does this make you feel? 57 billion?
Yes.
57 billion naira earmarked for purchase of vehicles. And you do know that this is not a one-off. I mean, it happens every assembly. Mm-hmm. They buy vehicles. And before we talk about the remarks of the honorable member, let's look at this. And then do recall also, in the dailies today, we saw a headline that said federal government wanting to obtain loan for adolescent education, which is put at $17 million. How does this make you feel, really, Chukwuma?
Good morning, Moses. Good morning to your colleague. Good morning to Dr. Olawale. Good morning, viewers. Moses, it doesn't make me feel anyhow. I don't feel bad anymore about whatever happens in this country, because it's just a continuation of the hypocrisy of our leadership. Why will I feel bad? They brought how much? How much did they borrow a month after they were inaugurated? I think about 500 billion dollars. And they gave 70 billion to 469 members of the National Assembly to buy furniture and whatever to make their jobs easier for them. And at that point, they were not willing to give the masses anything until they were pressured by the NLC to do something. Before they now said federal workers start 5,000 naira and started giving out 2 billion naira to each state. So it doesn't make me feel anyhow, because that is what we have become. And it speaks to the kind of leadership that we have, people who are before the horse. Look at what the senator said, that he is going to use the durable car to drive on Nigerian roads that are not durable. What does it tell you? What does it tell you? It simply tells you that the man doesn't know what to do. He doesn't have a plan for the future. Because as far as he is concerned, the durability of the car is much better than the durability of the road, which he doesn't use alone. Every other Nigerian uses that road. But the car is confined to him and him alone. So sometimes I begin to wonder the kind of leaders that we have that come out in public to make such insensitive statements in this very austere time, very uncertain times. But like I said, it speaks to the kind of leaders we have who they don't plan, they don't look into the future. What they want to do is now and the immediate. Between the last 5 months, isn't it possible that 5 to 10 solid road construction companies who have been put together to give us nothing less than 500 kilometers of solid roads that will last for the next 30 to 50 years? And come to think of it, they are even talking about imported SUVs. And the man opens his mouth to say, why are you people talking about that? Oh, didn't you talk about ministers? It is because you have kept quiet for a very long time, and the only persons that are talking is Serap. I've been saying it consistently and continuously. Our democracy has weakened the civil society organizations. Nobody talks again. It's business as usual. We had more vibrant civil society organizations during the military era than now that we even have freedom to say what we want to say. Freedom of action, Freedom of Information Act that was not even available during the military era. Nobody is taking advantage of those things. So the leadership we have, Moses, you see, like ask me how I feel. I feel very comfortable because what we are experiencing is just going to fast track the inevitable. In strategic studies, there's something we call mutually hurting stalemate, MHS. What it means is that it will get to a point where parties to a conflict are now looking at, okay, who is coming to say ceasefire? Like Moses, you and I are fighting, and it gets to a point where with the side of my eye, I'm looking at if there's a guy around to come and separate us. And the moment the person comes, and the moment I'm doing that, you are doing that at the same time. So the moment the person comes, we will now ceasefire. So what is happening now is good because it will get to a point where the senator with his SUV cannot travel home to his constituency, because if he goes there, his constituents will mob him. He cannot stay in the city because the criminals in the city will come after him. He cannot run away because he doesn't even have the money to purchase the foreign currency to fund his lavish lifestyle. Because by that time, dollar will probably be like 7,000 naira to a dollar. It's coming to that. I said we are on the road to Venezuela and we are not watching it. We are not watching it. Nigerians are still toying with. Of course, people get the kind of leadership they deserve. This is what we deserve. Whatever we get is what we deserve. Because if we don't, 1/3 of what happens in this country, if it happens elsewhere, let me reserve my comment. But you know what will have happened if what happens in this country, 1/3 of what happens in this country happens outside.
All right, then. It's heartbreaking. Dr. Lawale,
yes, please.
Do you think this is what we deserve, really? Are we getting the leaders that we deserve?
We voted them in, so...
Did we vote them in?
Some of them.
That is our question.
You know,
Exactly.
The thing is that this thing has been lingering on for years. Since the inception of democracy, people have been talking about the lavish spending of the National Assembly. a lot of money being spent on wardrobe, on furniture, on cars. It's as if they are just going there to just eat our money. Because I'm even waiting for a day when the National Assembly will come out and say, okay, you know what, this tenor, we don't want any SUV cars. But I can categorically say that each one of them has like two of these SUVs in their house. So why do they want more? Okay, this year, okay, we've had a lot. Okay, this money you want to use, let 5 of them even come out and say, okay, this money you want to use to buy SUVs for us, let us use it for one thing.
Is it that the lawmakers don't feel the pulse of the people?
They don't feel the pulse of the people. If they feel the suffering of the people, that man, the senator, will not come out and say the roads are. Senator Karimi, sorry, will not come out and say the roads are bad. Do you know how many people plies that same road? The road to your constituency is bad, and you cannot come out and fight for how to make sure the road is being done, and you're coming out and saying the roads are bad. It's something that they need to even investigate for that statement.
Okay. That's like saying that they're not doing their job to make sure the roads are
fixed. Who will
fixed?
make sure that the road is bad? It's for you to pass the bill. You road to your district is bad, and you're coming out and saying because the roads are bad. Now, because the roads are bad now, all the citizens in the United to go and buy SUVs. Some people are actually riding Okada, even Keke Maruwa or something, and they still pass that same road. And you as a senator should even say, okay, this money, let us use to invest on this road. Let us do this road. $53 billion, 57 billion naira is enough to do 500 kilometers of road. Good roads.
Okay.
In this
now,
country.
let me, for the sake of our viewers, we're trying to educate and inform. Let's also establish that in February this year, when the outgoing administration were at the tail end of their service, they talked about 613 billion naira sukuk loan spent on roads and bridges from 2017 up until 2021. I'll take the figure again. 613 billion naira spent on 77 road projects and 23 bridges. And then we see that the roads are always located. They're death traps. I said here one day, the Third Mainland Bridge was so terrible that there was a day I was coming back, a car that probably didn't know the bad spots and was just, going on the freeway, tumbled. A lone accident, got into a ditch and then tumbled, fell on its side. It was the grace of God that it didn't fall over. And these are roads that have been fixed. Roads that were said to have been fixed. Chukuma, I want to come back to you now. Shouldn't we be probing previous administration if they say they spent 613 billion naira sukuk loan to fix 77 road projects, 23 bridges, and we still have bad roads? The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is still in the state that it's in. What should be done, really?
No, Moses, we don't probe here. We don't probe previous administrations because we want to remain politically correct, right? We want to remain politically correct, so we don't probe previous administrations. If Tinubu wants to probe APC, it will be like, oh, you want to create a dissonance within the party organization, within the party. Why you were the national leader now? So why are you probing these? Why are you probing the previous administration? The man left honorably, so why don't you just allow him to go and enjoy his retirement in peace? We don't do probing here, except when we want to pursue vendetta. And it speaks to the whole thing about how corrupt we have become. Look at what we just reeled out. 600 and something billion naira. On how many? On 77 roads. Where are the roads? And look at the bad spot that you just highlighted. That bad spot is not the only one. There are thousands of them across the length and breadth of this country. Moses, where I come from, the federal road that passes through my village to our local government headquarters is about 7 kilometers of road. Moses, it will take you 6 clear hours to pass through that road
7 kilometers.
from the bad point to the good point.
Actually,
Sorry, you wanted to say something?
no. I'm trying to, trying to imagine 7,
Yes.
6 hours
Yes.
for that short road.
6 hours for that short road. Because by the time you get on that road, let me be specific, the Aruchuku or Hafia road is being denoted as the worst road in this country. The worst road. When David Umahi went for inspection, he couldn't even access the road. He stopped at the point, at the good point. He stopped at the good point and couldn't even get into the bad portion of the road. Then my people, we have to assess. Sometimes if I'm going home, I have to go through Akwa Ibom State to visit home. That is how bad it is. And we are being told that 600 and something billion naira was spent on fixing federal roads. And I begin to ask, where are the roads? Coming back to what you said about probe, we don't probe except when we want to do vendetta. And in 2015, APC said, okay, if you want your sins to be forgiven, I think it was Oshomole or somebody that said, if you want your sins to be forgiven, just come over to APC. And before our very eyes, these things happened. These things happened. We saw senators, we saw governors moving from their party to the APC, and the EFCC hid their files inside the drawers. But anytime you cough against the federal government, the EFCC will just bring out the file and show you. And we still live as a people. We go to bed and wake up every day. We clap hands for people that oppress us. I can't imagine. It's very unfortunate. Let's look at the issue of the vehicles. I said it on this TV before. Why don't we adopt models of countries that are not even classified as developed economies, just emerging economies? Let's take India, for instance. Let's take Malaysia, for instance. The national vehicle of Malaysia is Proton. Proton, yes, I think it's Proton. In Malaysia, if you don't want to drive Proton, you have to pay 300% duty on any imported vehicle. And if there are 2 million vehicles in Malaysia, 1,800,000 of them are Malaysian-made vehicles. The same thing goes with India. But here we are patronizing foreign-made vehicles. Because of what? Because of durability. When will we start building our own vehicles? When will we support Innocent? When will we support the other guy in Kano, in Kaduna, that is trying to manufacture electric vehicles? And there's one guy in Ondo State that is trying to manufacture electric vehicles. When will we support these people? How did Toyota, how did Honda, how did Mitsubishi, Suzuki, how did they start? Ford Motors, Chrysler, how did they even start? These things are not the natural order of things. People worked, people made sacrifices to ensure that these national brands are built, first of all, to satisfy their local demand, and then to target the foreign market and do an export. Tata is opening shop in Nigeria here where they will maintain Tata vehicles, Indian companies. Tata is building shops in the UK where they will maintain Tata vehicles. And what we are doing is to import SUVs, probably from Europe or Asia.
Yeah.
And we cannot even support our own. It is bad. When will we get over this? And again, it comes back to the issue of leadership. We don't have leaders that are focused. In the interim and in the long term, can't you make plans that will say, okay, within such a certain period, we don't even have a national plan. What does it show? It shows that we are not disciplined. Even when we do not implement the national plans. We don't follow through. It shows that we are not resilient. It shows that we have a culture of indiscipline. We are not disciplined. We don't have maintenance culture. Pan was there, Pan left. Leland was there, Leland left. Volkswagen was there, Volkswagen left. We couldn't maintain, we couldn't take over. And people are going to US to look for foreign direct investors. We couldn't even take over the factories that Peugeot Automobile left here. We couldn't take over the one that Volkswagen left somewhere in Volks area of Lagos.
Yeah.
We can't even support our own. When will we start doing this? I begin to ask.
I was going to get to that, the fact that we're trying to encourage Nigerians to patronize our locally made goods and then products. Seeing that you mentioned innocent cars and all, do you think there should be like a law or something that guards if at any time the people get into power, the vehicles, if at all they should purchase any vehicle, it should be locally made vehicles? Do you think that's actually going to happen in Nigeria? Seeing that these people are making attempts, they're trying, they're doing a lot to make sure that we produce these things in Nigeria. People still, our senators and a couple of others feel like it's necessary to purchase these vehicles outside of Nigeria. Do you think this is going to happen anytime in the country?
Sorry, I don't foresee that happening. But the laws are not our problems. Our problems are implementation. We have looked at it the other way around, that we make it a national policy. If you make it a national policy and then put roadblocks on the way of importing, you could be able to create a situation where people have to look inwards.
Okay.
You know, the middle class of people have to look inwards.
Let me chime in quickly.
Now,
okay.
Sorry, Moses, you were trying to say something.
I was going to say something, but I don't want to disrupt your line of thoughts there. I was just going to say
my line of thought. Okay, because what I was trying to say is, if you make a policy, if you make it a national policy, and now back it up with stringent conditions for import, it will be left for a certain class of people. Like I said in Malaysia, if you want to drive a Mercedes-Benz in Malaysia, you pay like 300 or 400 duty on it. If you make that law here, if you make that national policy here, you will see, I don't have a problem with a businessman. If Moses turns out a billionaire tomorrow, and Moses wants to drive a private jet with his personal money, it's not my business. This is hard-earned money. He can spend it anyhow he likes. My worry is that people are putting their hands in our national treasury, in our commonwealth, to sponsor their expensive lifestyle. That is the issue. So if you make that kind of national policy or national law that, look, if you don't buy Nigerian-made vehicles, you have to pay 800% duty on imported vehicle. You will see our legislators, government operatives, using public money to circumvent the policy. That is where the issue is.
All right then. So
that is where the issue is.
Let me come to you now, Dr. Oladawale. Who will then make the laws when the lawmakers themselves don't see the need to fix the roads or use Nigerian cars? When the lawmakers are telling us that they prefer foreign vehicles because of durability, when the lawmakers are saying, why are you talking to us? Why not talk to the ministers? Who then should make these laws? Isn't that why they are there? Isn't that why they are lawmakers?
That's what has been going through my mind since, and I've been wondering that since the National Assembly are the one actually fighting for these things, that they want SUV cars, they want and these cars are going to be imported from Japan. Most of the cars are Toyota, imported from Japan, and it's been happening years in, year out. Now, the problem about this is that they are not patronizing Nigerian-made cars because of the durability. Now, how would Nigerian-made cars be able to invest more on their cars if they are not patronizing them? It's not this money you are using to patronize them. They work on their durability of the cars and everything. This money, Toyota, Honda, they started from somewhere. In United States of America or UK, you can never, as a government official, you can never drive another car apart from, as a government, they must give you their homemade car. In America, they drive Ford. Another this thing, you cannot see American government official driving a Japanese car. You won't. Same thing in UK too. They drive their own. The government officials give them their national, what is being produced in their country, and that's what we should actually fight for. Keep fighting for in this country. And these people that are actually meant to fight for it are now saying now the ministers are collecting for. So as they are now trying to justify the fact that why are you coming to us? They've chopped their money. Let us all stop our own money. And one of the senators was saying that his local government chairman is riding the same car. He's riding.
That's
So is it a competition?
The same person saying. So Karim is still saying that his local government. You know, sir.
Isn't that the African pride?
It's that's like.
I'm an honorable member.
Say, like, how will my local government chairman be riding the same car I'm riding? I need to upgrade. So it's for you to show that even all the government even the state government. Let's forget about the federal government now. Some state government, before the inauguration of their House of Reps and everything, cars are already waiting for them. Commissioners, cars are already waiting for them. Imported. Imagine 36 states importing different hundreds of cars into the country. And we are talking about foreign exchange, forex. Our naira is crashing and everything. How will our naira be okay? Because the amount of money you use in buying these things, if we invest it in our Nigerian market, our naira too will be okay. So the call for them saying ministers are riding for, why are we coming for? It's just as these people are not there to serve us. They are just there for their money. If they are really there to serve us, first of all, they should come and say, okay, fine, this tenure, we don't need cars. And
see what Nigeria is going through right now.
See what Nigeria is going through now. How the talk of inflation rate. Inflation is killing the country at this moment. We are talking about inflation. Now some people are talking about SUVs. You know, something about things actually, when they should come out and say, okay, this year, we don't want anything. And no state official or federal government official can come out and say they don't have 3 or 2 SUVs parked in their houses. So why are they lingering for more?
What happens? What happens to the cars that previous assemblies use?
It's for them now. They'll give it to their children or give it to their...
After its tenure, they
buy them off?
Wow.
Probably buy it. You can buy it off, and they buy it off with one small money. So it's something we need to work on. And the federal, our politicians, our state governments, politicians, the federal government, local government need to learn to work for the people, not for their pocket. We voted them in to come and serve us, not to serve themselves and not to pocket themselves, put money into themselves. So it's so appalling. The story is so appalling, and I don't see myself buying all these things we are saying.
Okay, Chukwuma, let me come back to you now. Since it's socio-economic accountability project, bringing this to the fore, basically speaking the minds of Nigerians, what are the things that other Nigerians can do, especially CSOs, can do to ensure that this battle is won? That the judiciary, the members, the lawmakers are compelled to do what is right in terms of fixing roads and buying Nigerian product. It's not enough to wear African attires. Mm-hmm. You know, when we talk about representing Nigeria and buying Nigeria,
buy shoes from Aba.
It's not enough to wear Babariga and the rest of them. We should actually, compel them to buy Nigeria.
Moses, we happen to find ourselves in a very difficult situation. We have a very political culture. Let me use the word bad political culture, because we don't seem to know what we want as a people. SERAP is done so much. Kudos to SERAP. What we need to do is to encourage other civil society organizations to join in the fight against the impunity of our leaders, because their actions are very impunitive, and the actions increase by the day, without wage. And Wale was saying something about why can't they say this year we will not take vehicles or will not take this and that. It won't happen. They're in their comfort zone. Let's look at it as a situation of we, the us and them. You know, they are in their comfort zone, and nobody relinquishes his comfort zone easily except to put pressure. What Nigerians need to do is encourage the civil society organizations, you know, to do more. Serap has won so many judgments. Unfortunately, those judgments end on the table of the judges. They are not implemented, they are not enforced. When they go back to court again, the court will say, look, we have done what we are supposed to do. The executive that is supposed to enforce controls the police. So police cannot enforce. It's a very difficult situation. Like I said, we have a very bad political culture. We can't even start recalling. The process of recall is very cumbersome. You know, it's very cumbersome. By the time you initiate a recall process, it takes several months. And by then, the issue at core will simply have evaporated. And again, our people, because of poverty, this stomach infrastructure mentality, you will understand that this senator that has made this statement, instead of people, his constituents, looking for a way or ways to recall him, the man will simply bring out some amount of money, push it to the stakeholders in his constituency. And if you stand up to shout or to say anything against those stakeholders, will shout you down because they have already been given money. You know, so there's nothing, you can't do much. The only thing that comforts me is that their actions, like I said earlier, is simply going to fast track the inevitable. I don't want to mention it on national TV. Let it not look as if I'm being a militant. But surely the way we are going, it will happen one day. It happened in other clients. Our people should learn not to encourage our legislators to suppress us. What happened to Zoom? Okay, during the COVID era, how many people were driving on the roads? How were they meeting? Wasn't it with Zoom? You didn't need to go to National Assembly. You stay in the comfort of your home. Moses, as we speak today, there are so many organizations in areas that were ravaged with COVID that still do not collocate. People work virtually from home. And they save costs. But our people, our national leaders are not willing to save costs. They are not willing to make sacrifices. Rather, they tell you, don't worry, let us make sacrifices. Somebody that is leading you is not willing to make sacrifices, but he wants you to make sacrifices. It's as simple as hypocrisy. There's no other way to describe it. We have problem of both leadership, both followership. And those little things that matter, those foundational things that form our cultural values, our societal values, we overlook them. And by the time those things come out en masse, you see that the society is simply collapsing. And that is what we are witnessing now. People can't call a spade a spade.
All right, then.
People can't call a spade a spade simply because a senator that has benefacted him is involved. Shame to the man, shame to the senators, honestly.
All right, Dr. Lawale, now, do you think poverty has been weaponized in Nigeria? And because I do recall that during an election campaign time in Ghana, when those contesting elections came with bags of rice and to give to people, the people gave it back to them and said, look, we don't want this time around. We don't want these things. Fix our roads, fix our schools. This is what we want. But in Nigeria, we see where lawmakers or, politicians in general would gather people during election time and give them 1,500 or 2. In fact, sometimes they are made to sit down on the floor and, money is handed 2,000, 5,000, 1,000 handed to each person. And, you see them prostrating, you see them grateful for that because they get to eat for that day. Whether or not they vote for the person. But, is poverty being weaponized in Nigeria?
Yeah, it's been. The politicians are using
Should we call on international community now?
The politicians are using this poverty in Africa, right, generally, to work against us because the rate of poverty in Nigeria is actually very high. Talk of them giving them rice, money, rice, not even a bag of rice, 2 jerrycans of rice, just to sell their vote. 1 jerrycan of, it's not even ordinary votes. Do you know? Come on. Now, of recent, they're talking about palliative that was given to poor people for this fuel subsidy palliative, and some communities were sharing rice. The community in Ogun State came out and said they gave them a bag of rice, not even 50 kg bag of rice,
174
for 174 occupants. So it's something that they've been using against us, and it should be called for. We should call to the international communities to help us because they are using this. Not even the politicians now. Now let me go my streets. Let me use my street now. From walking from my street to the bus stop, a lot of people are like, Joe, people begging, hey, give me money, give me money, give me money. So, and now the governments are using this thing against them, against the masses, giving them small money that shouldn't even be just to buy their votes, to keep them short. Now nobody's talking about fuel subsidy again. Now everybody has kept short because they've given them bag of rice. They said they've given subsidy that it shouldn't. How much is them? Two jerrycans of rice. What will it do? How will it begin to subsidize the rate at which palliative? We should not be talking about palliative in this country at all. What is palliative? Palliative for what?
All right then.
But I think this year was a little bit different. The giving masses rice and all of that.
Did you receive
to
rice?
buy their votes? Like this year, people spoke about against it a lot before the election period. At least I would say it was. It reduced a little bit from the masses. I saw videos of people being given money and they gave it back. People giving food and all of that. So
let's hope it continues that way.
I hope it continues. We become better and reject these things and not just collect it and say, even if I don't get to vote, let me just collect it and eat for today.
Oh, well, we do have, we'll be touching on another topic, so we'd like Dr. Olawale Olatubi and Chukwuba Okoro to stay with us as we go on to the next topic for discussion.
Up next on VOP this morning, Reps summons CBN governor for lifting forex ban on toothpicks, fertilizer, cement, and others. Details in a moment.